Hello, my name is Lisa Smith, and I am taking a course, EDU 543, International Comparative Education at California Baptist University. I've entitled this project, Two Countries, One Mission, where I will be comparing the United States school system to Singapore's school system. There are many school systems all over the world, each one different from the other. Countries other than ours top the list of high achievers. Here in America, we do have a handful of school systems which have performed at a notable level. But why only a handful of U.S. school systems are high achieving? What is it about those school systems that needs to change? What exactly are those higher performing school systems in other countries and in our own backyard doing that the lower performing school systems aren't doing? What extraneous factors are present, and what can be done to make the necessary changes to allow growth and achievement? What should education look like in order for all children to learn at their highest potential? These are just some of the questions that I'm asking. Comenius, who is sometimes referred to as the father of modern education, believed that education should be realistic, it should be hands-on, and include experience, physical education, science, and business practices. In an attempt to discover what the U.S. is missing in its school systems, a comparison of top-performing Singapore and the United States is detailed here according to several characteristics. The first set of characteristics are population, how much money is spent on each child in that educational setting, and the economic growth rate of that country. First, we have the U.S. As of 2015, there were 320.1 million people in the U.S. Singapore had 5.54 million. Per pupil spending, average across all 50 states was 10,700. That's as of 2015. New York, I thought was interesting that they came out on top, the highest spending per student, which is 19,818. Utah spends only 6,555. For Singapore, primary students, they spend 8,904, and secondary students, they spend 11,959. So you can see there's a huge difference. The GDP for US, January 2016, was 1.4%, and in Singapore was 6.2%. That says a lot. They're spending less, they're growing more, and they have less people than us. Okay, just keep that in mind. The next characteristics are life expectancy and socioeconomic demographics. The U.S. life expectancy for men is 76.4 years old. Women, 81.2 years old. That's in an article dated 2016, and the facts were for 2015. Okay, Singapore men, the average is 80.2 years old, and women 85.1 years old. That's according to World Health Statistics 2014. I thought this was interesting. 31.1% were covered by a public health plan in the U.S. as far as 2015 goes. And in Singapore, 90.8% of the people there owned their own home. The next thing I wanted to look at is their political system and their affiliation. I wanted to find out what exactly their political system organization is, and how much of it determines what goes into education and what doesn't. So for the U.S., it is ruled by a democracy. There is a constitution, and that constitution breaks our government into three branches, which are the legislative, which Congress rules, executive branch, which the president rules, and the judicial branch, which the Supreme Court rules. The citizens in the U.S. elect representatives to create the laws. And in the U.S., there are various political parties, such as Democrats, Republicans, there's Tea Party, there's the Green Party, there's different political parties. In Singapore, it's a parliament government, and that's modeled after the UK parliament system. The members are voted in at general election, and the leader is called the Prime Minister, and that Prime Minister is appointed by the President of Singapore. There are members of the cabinet, and each member of the cabinet and of the parliament have a 5-year term. I wanted to find out what the educational focus is in each country, so I did some research on this, and using what I already know, I know that the U.S. attempts to have a uniform set of standards across the U.S., which is called the Common Core. It's a set of academic standards that includes math and English language arts, which includes reading and writing. Each curriculum or set of curriculum varies by state, district, community, and school. So what my school uses as a curriculum may be different than a school in, let's say, Texas. Even though we have the Common Core, which is common academic standards, the curriculum we use could be different, state by state or district by district, school by school. Okay. The core subjects are reading, writing, math, and there's also science, social studies, physical education, music, and art. In the U.S., we determine student achievement by national high-stakes assessments. We rely heavily on textbooks. We have mediocre teacher training, and I say that because of my experiences in the districts I've worked in California and the one I work in here in Nevada. And most of the time, it's teacher-centered classrooms instead of student-centered classrooms. I think we're on a shift right now, going from teacher-centered classrooms to more student-centered. Okay, in Singapore, their curriculum is highly scripted, and it's uniform across all levels and subjects. There's really no room for teachers to think. They have semester end and national high-stakes assessments, just like us. They rely heavily on textbooks, worksheets, worked examples, and lots of drill and practice. The classroom includes teacher-dominated discussions, and there's really limited communication of learning goals and standards, as well as checking for prior knowledge. Not a lot of that is happening in Singapore. They just pretty much teach to the test. There's a prescribed national curriculum. Every school in Singapore has the same curriculum. They have a strong alignment of curriculum, instruction, and assessments. That means their assessments are in line with their curriculum. Their curriculum is in line with their instruction, and their assessments are in line with their instruction. They have a strong commitment to train teachers and administrators. So it's not just the teachers receiving the training. I wanted to find out what I would need if I moved to Singapore in order to teach. So I found out that a person that wants to teach in Singapore needs a bachelor's degree, and they need to pass what's called the entrance proficiency test. Okay, In the US, we have a little bit more stricter guidelines. We have to have a bachelor's degree. We have to complete a teacher preparation program of some sort. And we have to have taken past state and national certification. I wanted to find out what Singapore's graduation rate is. This is what I found. I found that 14.7% of their people obtain diplomas and or professional qualification. 28.2% obtain a university degree. To me, that's low compared to how high their achievement scores are compared to ours. And I'll get into why I think that is in a minute. The US has an 88.4% graduate rate from high school. 32.5% obtain their bachelor's degree, and 12% obtain graduate degree beyond bachelor's. And that's according to Ryan and Bowman, 2016. Okay, these are some fun facts that I found. Let's start with Singapore. The compulsory education age is 6 to 15 years old. That means students in Singapore are required to attend school from ages 6 to only 15. And I believe that's why this right here is so high, or I'm sorry, so low, because they know that they don't have to go to school past the age of 15, so a lot of them don't make it to university or high school even. Teachers are entitled to 100 low or no cost hours of professional development each year. And I put that in direct quotes because I thought it's interesting that they use the word entitled to. A lot of teachers that I know don't like taking professional development. I, however, am the opposite. I feel like I'm a lifelong learner and I should, perfect my trade, something that I need to get better at. There's always something that I can improve upon. And the third thing, English was designated as first language of instruction in 1987. I thought that was interesting because they have several nationalities that are the norm there, and they don't necessarily speak English. So I thought that was interesting. And 1987 wasn't just a few years ago. It's been quite a few years. Fun facts about the U.S. The earliest schools didn't focus on reading, writing, or arithmetic. It was religion that they focused on. And being at CBU, I think that's interesting. I think that that's a way for us to, connect our faith to what we're learning in this course. Also, the second one, as of 2013, the U.S. ranked 5th in number of college degree holders. That is awesome, in my opinion. I know the U.S. has a lot to improve upon in regards to its educational system, but to me, this says something. According to YILMA 2013, the U.S. ranked 5th among international opponents. The third fun fact for the U.S. as of 2013, only 50% of all 3-year-olds in the U.S. were enrolled in preschool, as opposed to 90% in European countries. I think that's interesting. I think that the percentage is so different, and I just want to leave this with you. Do you all think that our compulsory age for education should be modified? Do we have or require our students to come to school at a later age? Do we spend less but have better quality instruction? Something has got to change.